you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, it didn't work the first time.
Okay, glad you got here. Okay, I'll do the certification. Do each of you certify that, to the best of your knowledge, only public matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements, and that only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session was convened were heard, discussed, or considered? I will now do a roll call. Mr. Holland?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Byerly?
Aye.
Mrs. O'Bannon?
Aye.
And I'll just call Mr. Winslow's name as well.
Aye.
Mr. Holland, we have confirmed that the closed session was in order, and we're ready, I think, to move on based on the discussion to item 2C.
2C, item 2C, project timeline updates.
Yeah.
Our other, they gone, Sam and?
From Richmond.
Yes, we don't, Whitney did not rejoin this
Okay.
session, and Sam did not come back on. We let her know that after the closed session, she would not need to.
Okay, well, I was gonna ask one more question though from Tallhammer's rep. Do
Oh,
we know
Katie's
what kind
here.
of-
Katie,
She is still.
I thought she was.
She is, I moved her.
She was here a moment ago.
She says, I am here, but listed as an attendee, not a panelist. You have to be given approval to talk.
Oh, there she
There
is.
she is. Yeah.
Thanks, Katie.
Here I am.
Katie, just a quick question. What kind of heating and cooling systems are being used in the current?
It's a VRF system.
VRS or VRV?
VRF.
VRS, okay.
So it's,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Right, thank you, appreciate that. So on the timeline,
Yeah, so we've included an updated timeline here for you. This is updated based on two things. One, just being able to do a little bit more digging on instruction from the following the last committee meeting about the permitting process. So I want to give an update on that. And then also, I think one of the requests was to be able to denote the points in this timeline where decisions need to be made. So you'll see that Katie's gone through and identified those red outlined boxes where we need to make decisions. The idea would be that would be how we would anchor the committee to convene over this period of time to make sure that we can push that through. And I think in general, Katie's allowed a week or so for us to be able to do that internal review and approval of those points. So, and then Mr. Winslow, the discussion from the committee was that each month when the board meets, this committee would be able to report back to the board.
That's wonderful.
I think that the full board at the last meeting, when they made the vote to designate this committee as the oversight committee, was relying on the fact that you would be also pretty well involved, and then Mr. Davis as well as he transitions to chair.
I appreciate that. I know Mr. Davis does too.
So I'll share an update and then have Katie invite you to kind of walk through the timeline and answer any questions that folks have. But I will share that we've been able to have really great conversations over the last couple of weeks through the Chief Administrative Officer's office in the city of Richmond. Lincoln Saunders was able to connect us through Deputy CAO and the Director of Planning and Building and Permitting to be able to understand that review process. We have gotten confirmation that as a intimate partner of the city of Richmond, we will be treated as though this is an internally city-sponsored project. And so for that reason, they have advised that they don't think that it's necessary for us to go through the third-party permitting process, and have confirmed that they believe that the just regular permitting process can be accomplished based on our project size and scope within a 2-month window. So we were really excited to hear that.
But we do owe some folks, I think, like a gift basket on the city council. I just want to point that out for the record.
I oppose.
Maybe a lunch, I don't know.
More than just a thank you.
I certainly can't speak to that, but I will say that the staff at each of the levels of administration have been really supportive. We've been in contact with both the planning department, as I said, building and permitting, and economic development, and everyone has responded to me literally within 2 hours of my message, and are very excited about this project in general, as well as us taking tenancy here. So it's been really encouraging to hear how much enthusiasm there is for us in this process. So, so I think thanks are definitely due all around.
Have to have a party down in the brewery.
That's it. That's it.
So there were some other homework assignments at the committee level from the last meeting. We don't have that material for you today. I'll just share with you that we've had some interim conversations both with this site as well as the new location to talk about what the potential impacts of this timeline that you see before us has with our scheduled move out date here. And so at your next meeting, I would expect that you'll be able to see that side by side comparison that you requested. So that will be forthcoming, but we've been working to be able to compile that information that you requested. Those are my updates. Katie, do you want to kind of walk through, since they haven't had the benefit of hearing about the timeline from you before, and just sort of hit some of the key sequencing as well as decision points that are to occur?
Sure. And I know this is a lot on the screen, and I know there's a lot of information, but it will keep us on track because we're kind of moving parallel where we're designing furniture, we're designing IT and AV, and then we're also adding these items into the space design. So there's a lot of work to be done up front so that things go smoothly towards the end of the project. So I'm going to jump down. We're to the very bottom of the first page. It says schematic design and design development. So that's where we are currently with the Baskerville team. We're meeting weekly, and they needed 4 weeks to complete that those items. So you'll see the first big approval we'll want PlanRVA to approve is this SD and DD set. And again, I've provided 1 week dedicated to just review time. And so it's great if we can get it approval quicker, but it's there if we all need it. And then after that gets approved, if you move to the next page, we dive into construction documents. Baskerville will start designing in more depth. And then also the MEP design will start as soon as the SD and DD set are completed. They have what they need to review. The CD page turn is usually about 90% complete. We'll have a dedicated meeting to basically sit down and say, okay, here's all the decisions that PlanRVA has made. Let's double check, make sure everything still is on track, still what you want to see. And then after that meeting, the Baskerville and MEP team will finalize the drawings, the CDs, and you'll see that we're planning to have everything complete end of May, that May 24th. So on May 25th, we've got the construction documents ready to go. We'll issue them to the landlord for review, and we'll issue them to the city to start the permit review. And we also issue them to the GC list to start their bidding process. So the drawings for the landlord review, they usually take about 2 weeks to provide any comments. The city, again, like Martha mentioned, said about 2 months we should assume for their review. And then the GC, I usually give them 3 weeks to review the drawings and be able to bid and issue their proposals. After we receive the GC bids, I dedicated 1 week of me going back and forth on proposals, making sure everyone's apples to apples. If I need more time, I always let everyone know, but I try to get it done within that week so that we can quickly release someone. Once we release the GC, then we'll go into contract negotiations. They release their subcontractors. They start their submittal process. All the while, we're probably still waiting on the permit drawings, which is good because, it's a lot of work the GC has to do to get ready to mobilize. And then as soon as the permit is approved, the GC can mobilize and start construction. During the budget phase, we were told to estimate 4 months of construction. So that's what we included here. That number will be updated based on the final drawings, but our goal is to stick to what we assumed in the budget. And then we have us completing the construction, hopefully early April. I have then 3 weeks dedicated to the punch list, the furniture installed, AV install, everything that PlanRVA and EA needs to operate, and then the tenant move in by the end of the year. This is aggressive, and as things as we get updates, we'll be sure to let everyone know if anything changes. But again, this is a good working budget to start, or schedule to start.
Any questions? Great, good. Any other questions, comments?
I do. Katie, does the owner of the building have any restrictions on who the general contractors that could be considered are?
Not that I know of, but I think usually what I like to do is give them a short list of who we plan to issue to. But I know, talking to Martha, and maybe an open list. So I think I'll just ask the question and see if they have any restrictions. They haven't relayed any restrictions on GCs, though.
Good, good. Other questions, comments?
So I think one of the things that we wanted to try to do is to have a clear understanding of how the timeline fits with when the committee could meet. I mean, we certainly want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Sure.
And so in looking at this, for example, the next decision point for this committee based on this project timeline is item 7 on the first page of the timeline, the SDDD approval. That's the schematic drawings approval. That timeline there is a week before our normally scheduled meeting. So my thought was perhaps if the committee was willing, we could look at just meeting the week prior to what we would be planning on to be able to keep this process going forward.
Okay.
I don't have any problem there, but I think if we're gonna keep this on schedule, we all have to be flexible.
We have to be.
Because
Yeah.
all this stuff is very easy to slip this way and
Yeah.
that way, and
So I was wondering if it might be possible to just put some holds on everyone's calendars for, maybe that Tuesday at, I think it's 2:30 time or that kind of a
Okay.
thing, just so
That'd be
that
I think
if we need to
can do
scramble,
that,
we
but
could-
we have to be prepared that they may not be ready or.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they're ready a week early,
we want to be able
probably
to.
be to everybody's advantage if we could move too.
We can be flexible. And I think we should be.
The odds are it
Good
could be
point.
the other way
Yeah.
around.
I think we should.
Later.
Yeah, yeah, I think we should. And I think what the day shows is that we need to, given the ambiguity we got to work out, that Novus will help us work out an attorney with respect to the proposal in terms of the line. I think
Are
we
you
have-
discussing the 19th of April? Is that what you're saying?
we're saying maybe we have to be flexible, so at least no later than.
Yes,
Martha?
Okay.
yeah, so the meeting that we currently have on the schedule would be held on April 26th, but that's a week after we would be targeting to review those schematic designs. So I think in the spirit of what Mr. Peterson's saying, we want to sort of put everybody on notice that we're going to be looking to schedule special meetings and or try to move our regular meeting schedule around to be able to fit into the timeline of the project. And we'll certainly strive to give as much notice as possible
Ideally,
as things are
yeah.
going.
And now's enough time to give preliminary.
The other thing I wanted to share is that most Wednesdays, Katie, it's Wednesday, right? We are scheduled to meet. And so that's our
Yes.
project team, obviously at different junctures in the project, our other vendors and partners will come on. I did want to share that I think in order to keep those meetings efficient, we could certainly invite 1 or 2 members of the committee to join those calls just to kind of stay up to date. It would not have to be necessary, mandatory, but I think if we had 2 members, that would still be compliant with the open meeting requirement. So if there were volunteers that wanted to be added to that invitation list, we could certainly accommodate that.
Okay.
Provided it was up to 2, that those meetings would not require a public notice. And then the last thing I wanted to say is just my own note in reviewing the timeline, and I wanted to confirm with the committee. I do think that we would want to give the committee the opportunity to review the general contractor proposals. We don't currently have that marked as one of the points where the committee would be meeting to review, so I wanted to put that out to the committee. Would you like to have that identified as a decision point?
I would anticipate that the architect would bring us with recommendations based on the bids.
So Katie, we'll want to incorporate that into this timeline as well, that prior to release an award, we'd want to have this committee meet to review the recommendations.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I did have a note that by 6/21 we will need to
Okay.
have met.
Okay.
But you know what? Let me Yeah, I think, how many
what I-
bids do you all anticipate? I guess we'll just have to figure that out, and then we'll determine how long I may
Hopefully we
need
have at least
to
three.
level.
Oops.
Yeah, that's what I was anticipating.
How busy all these people are, I don't know, it's the middle of the year.
If there are some good contractors already in the building working for other clients, they'd probably have a leg up.
So the last thing I just wanted to share is, while the
Okay.
timeline kind of moves, Katie's been really great about kind of setting the stage, so, we're starting those discussions now about furniture, and, we've conducted, or completed rather, an inventory of everything that we have here. And so we're comparing measurements based on the layout design to determine what's, viable to take with us versus what, is not viable to take with us. And then that will help us to develop the list of what new furnishings are needed. So for example, our expectation is that we'll be able to furnish most of the enclosed offices with existing furniture. We won't have to buy new there, and that kind of a thing. So I would expect that we'll be coming back to you with a more itemized list of furnishings to purchase for the boardrooms, for the large boardroom, as well as definitely for the surrounding open office seating. And then other things as they come, but we're certainly working to be able to repurpose as much as is appropriate. So,
All right, that sounds great. Next time we meet too, keep us abreast of the extension we're gonna need, because I understand we'll be out here by October. So keep us abreast of the extensions and the progress
Yes.
with that next time we meet, so we'll know that we have a place to
yes,
come until we move in projectedly. Right now, was it December 6th, I think we have here December 6th, the week in early December. We discussed it last time, in fact, it's something we wanna make sure we
Will do.
have, so we update on that.
okay.
All right, anything else of discussions or questions?
Have we already started the discussions with our current landlord about
Yes,
extending?
yes.
Yeah, we just want to make sure
Yeah,
it's
so
complete.
your next meeting, you'll have that side-by-side comparison of
Very
the
good.
options.
Excellent, excellent, very good. Other comments or recommendations? Again, thank everyone. Thank you, Katie. Thank everyone.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you all.
Canovas. We appreciate it, and we look forward to your lining it up side by side for us. Okay? Eliminate any ambiguity. Thank you, Mr. Attorney, as well. We appreciate that. Thanks, Martha. Okay, a motion to adjourn. Move, we adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned until further needed.
Yes.
We'll be flexible. Thank you.